Let's go everyone. Today is Monday, May 19th, right? I'm going to record this video to update you on the current market scenario, okay? Today we're going to talk about Bitcoin and Ethereum, the context both are in right now, okay? This past week, the market made an interesting move, had a bullish rally, and now the market is consolidating, right? Actually, Bitcoin has mitigated an interesting supply zone, an interesting order block on the daily chart, where we were able to open a short position, okay? In fact, the market is consolidating right above our position, but it's a swing position with low leverage, so the exposure is smaller, all right? But we have a very interesting context here, but at the same time, it's complex. Why? Because we had the formation of internal liquidity, which validates for us the possibility of trading this range that was formed. So we could set up a long position here if the market were to make a retracement move to catch an upward movement, right? If the market comes and sweeps this external liquidity, for us to catch a short setup aligned with the 4-hour time frame, we would need the market to break this low, right? In other words, it would have to make this move so we could sell on the pullback, believing that the market will make this retracement move, then make a downward impulse, mitigate this POE, and continue the upward movement. Parallel to this, right, we are in a supply zone on the daily chart, which is where we have the position I shared with you all inside the community, okay? But there is an interesting point to note here, which is this internal liquidity within the daily range. The daily range starts down here at the bottom, right, and ends up here at the top. So here we have external liquidity in the 93,000 region, which is very significant, okay, quite substantial. We can even see it on the heat map that there's a very interesting area here. So if the market comes down to mitigate this 4-hour support, if the market makes a very strong downward move, I believe it could come and sweep this liquidity, right? And possibly mitigate either this fair value gap or this order block, okay? But that would be a move for a few days from now, I believe, okay? That is if the market doesn't break this top and continue on to make a new all-time high. I don't think that's going to happen for now, okay? We're in an interesting zone here where the price is absorbing a lot of shorts. In fact, I'm going to keep my short position for now, right? It's a swing setup. I'm using lower leverage and there's still no alignment on the 4-hour chart. That's why my exposure is lower. If this alignment happens here and the market makes a strong move, it's possible that this order block could fail, okay, to sweep that liquidity. However, when the market makes that move, I'll post a new update in the community letting you know what decisions we'll be making, all right? Refining it, right, to the 1-hour chart, we had, the sweep of external liquidity, which was this accumulation. The price went up there, swept the liquidity, and then made a downward move, okay? So after making that downward move, it broke this low, but this low isn't a breaker, it's a liquidity low. It hadn't swept any other liquidity, but you could also consider it because it actually did sweep a low, right? I am noticing now that it swept a little low here. In other words, it swept this low, broke the high and broke here. Now, what could happen? The market could stop at this bearish order block here and make a downward move, okay? However, this upward movement is pretty strong, but I believe that could still happen, all right? The market could now make a downward move here to sweep this external liquidity, maybe even break this strong 4-hour low, reversing the flow, right? So what would the price do next? It would make a retracement move and we would sell on the pullback to come down and mitigate this POI here. Yeah, but Bitcoin is in a slightly more complex scenario while Ethereum has a clearer movement. With Ethereum, it's like this, right? We also have that bullish range, right? And it's a complex range too because there's still liquidity below. In other words, if the market comes to sweep this IRL, which is around the 2666 region, I plan to build a position at this POE, okay, between 2127 and 2956, which is my OT zone, after sweeping internal liquidity. From this bullish range, taking it from here to here, that's my bullish range. If it fails, right, the market comes and sweeps this liquidity over here. If this liquidity is swept, I would build a position between 1660 and 1537. You're talking about long positions, right? In the short scenario, what did we have here, okay? We had a change of character in an accumulative context. So It's a bit riskier, but even so, we can still consider it. So the market changed character, right, and is accumulating liquidity. We have a trend line where there are a lot of stop losses above it, and there's the EQH, right, which would be a double top. So what do? We plot our Fibonacci, right, from the start of the move to the end of the move where the break happened. That is the change of character. By doing this, we identify where the liquidity is. The liquidity is above the trend line and right above the EQH. So what could we do? We could take a short position at the 0.79 Fibonacci level, right? Which would be after the price sweeps both the liquidity from the trend line and the ATH liquidity. From the EQH, actually, it's right on top, isn't it? In other words, you can enter at 0.79, or you can also enter at this 15-minute order block, right? And extend your take profit to the IRL. That's a scenario that could happen as well, okay? But in a context like this, the most interesting thing is to wait for the retracement move so we can catch a long setup, right? But since the market is, accumulating within this current range, we can look for trades with a slightly tighter stop loss so we can try to take advantage of some opportunities, you see? Yeah, so as the market continues to shift and evolve, I'll definitely be consistently updating everyone inside the community about the next decisions that we'll be making together, right? So if you're not in the free group, join the free group. If you can and want more refined access to setups, even the educational part, then join the VIP community, okay? It's at a good price. Now, if you want to learn, if you want to become a professional trader, get in touch with me privately and we'll talk about that. If there's any opportunity to get you into the mentorship, I'll do my best to help you out, all right? And that's it, folks. God bless you all. May God bless each and every one of you. If you have any questions, just send me a message on Telegram.